The first thing you notice is how small the rooms feel when people start to tell the same story from different corners. A factory foreman remembers a winter morning in the late 1960s, steam rising from oil-streaked boots, and a meeting where someone simply said, "If everyone else is chasing speed, we'll make something that won't let you down." An old rally mechanic, hands still stained with gravel and tar, laughs when he tells it. "They thought it was stubbornness. We called it common sense. Flat engine, low center, for wheels that all want to pull together." Across town, a dealer sits under the fluorescent hum of a showroom and folds his hands like he's setting a book down. He remembers customers arriving with car seats and grocery lists, not trophies, saying, "I need something that gets me there, whatever their means." A rival executive, hair professional and cautious, admits it differently. "They refused the shortcuts. We assumed that would be their undoing." These voices don't line up neatly. They overlap, contradict, correct. One owner swears by the Boxer engine's growl and the way the car felt glued to a snowy road. "It saved my commute and my daughter's soccer game." The lead engineer, quieter, traces his memory to a drawing board and a stubborn ledger. Decisions made with a pencil and a refusal to bow to fickle trends. "We chose friction over flash," he says. In each account, the same axis holds. Subaru did not diversify into every passing fad. It honed 3 promises: all-wheel traction, a low-slung boxer heart, and a brand of safety that can be counted on like a well-built bridge, and then tested those promises until they could be relied upon. You can call it obstinacy, principle, or strategy. The point is how that narrowing of purpose felt at first like a handicap. For customers, it felt like dependability. For competitors, it looked like weakness. For the people inside, it was a decision to be consistent in small, unforgiving choices. If this perspective resonates, a like helps us keep telling these careful, practical stories. Tell us, which of these pains feels closest to yours? Lack of identity, fear of niching, or fear of losing followers? Share that thought and stay with us. Next, we'll listen to the engineer who drew the first lines on that promise and follow the path from call to differentiate to the abyss where consistency was most tested. They tell the same story from different seats in the room, and each seat reshapes the truth. In a dim engineering bay, a lead engineer wipes grease from his hands and remembers staking the company on an awkward heart. A flat boxer keeps the weight low and the center steady. People won't care about marketing copy. They'll feel it on the road. You can almost hear the hum of test rigs, the metallic echo of pistons, the stubborn cadence of a small team refusing easy shortcuts. Outside, prototypes crawl through mud and slush, held together more by conviction than by corporate forecasts. Across town, a rural dealer leans on a showroom counter and describes a different scene. Winter mornings, customers appearing with tired eyes and more questions than money. "We weren't selling horsepower," she says. "We were selling confidence. A mom told me, 'I need to get to school when the snow's bad.' That's when the story stopped being about features and started being about promise." Her lot is a patchwork of loyal repeats. Teachers, mechanics, hunters, people who value reliability over flash. Their voices stitch together a portrait of a brand that found an audience by refusing to chase everybody. At a kitchen table, an owner named Jim traces a scratch along his steering wheel and smiles. "My Subaru has taken me to the lake, through floods, and back when others would have quit." His voice is quiet, almost embarrassed by its simplicity. Ownership becomes pilgrimage. Dented panels that map life's routes, a smell of wet dog and boot leather, a loyalty formed by repeated, mundane dependability rather than spectacle. In contrast, a rival executive in a glass-walled office scoffs and admits, candidly, that they once dismissed the company as a stubborn outlier. "We thought niching was a trap. Then they sold to people we never considered." His concession reads like a pivot in a confession. What looked like obstinacy read to customers as integrity. Those 4 testimonies converge. The same choices, different meanings. The Boxer engine, permanent all-wheel drive, and a safety-first narrative weren't fads. They were a deliberate narrowing of promise. That narrowing cost market share in some decades but bought a clarity that built fanaticism. If this clarity resonates, give it a quiet like, and tell us, which promise would you guard even if it slowed growth? Stay with us. Next we watch how that stubborn promise faces the moment it must either prove itself or fold. The wind that night sounded like an accusation. A white roar across the dealer lot, where 16 used imprezas huddled under snow, each one a promise or a warning. An old salesman still remembers the emptiness of the showroom, the polite curiosity of a customer who wanted a practical car, and left laughing at the sticker price. Why build a wagon with a boxer engine and permanent all-wheel drive? A rival executive said with a smile that wasn't kind. You'll never scale. The engineer leaned forward in the dim control room and answered not with spreadsheets but with a stubborn, patient sentence. Because it behaves like we say it will, every time. That phrase, tested in ice, gravel, mud, becomes the pivot of the story. From 3 angles the same moment replays. The dealer watching a single Outback climb a snow berm while a Lexus stalls beside it. The rally mechanic, hands black with oil, listening to the boxer cough and then sing as it finds traction on gravel. The skeptical marketing director who, after months of low sales, flips through fan letters from parents who say their kids came home safe. Each voice adds a sliver of truth. Alone, the choice looked like obstinacy. Together, it reads like fidelity to a promise that customers could feel in their bones. In the dark of the workshop, the engineer taps telemetry and remembers the day the test fleet returned, filthy and grinning. We didn't chase glamour, she says, voice low. We sharpened what we were good at. The skeptic across town who had bet on flashy features watched instead as loyalty grew not from novelty but from repeatable, everyday reliability. A town's mail carrier finishing routes through a blizzard, a couple towing a camper into the mountains, a teenager learning to drive in the rain. The chorus of small, stubborn successes accumulates into something larger than any advertising campaign. It becomes legend. You can feel the turning point. What was once perceived as weakness becomes the brand's most defensible asset. Which fear is yours? Losing followers, losing identity, or failing to pick a lane? If that question hits home, stay with us for the final act, where we map the practical playbook that turns stubbornness into an enduring promise. If you want to see how to make that leap for your own brand, subscribe and keep watching. They speak in fragments that fit together like cut film. An engineer tracing a worn blueprint with oil-stained fingers. A dealer folding keys as if tucking away a small miracle. A longtime owner laughing at a memory of sliding through a winter storm and coming out the other side. Each voice returns to the same simple fact. Subaru didn't grow because it chased everyone. It grew because it refused to stop being itself. That refusal looked stubborn at the time. A company investing in flat engines, symmetrical all-wheel drive, and safety when the world whispered, follow the fad. In the quiet that followed, stubbornness turned strategic and then, finally, legendary. Picture the choices as a narrow trail up a mountain. The easy path fans out into broad, crowded plains of trend chasing. Subaru kept to the ridge. Slower, steeper, riskier. But the view from there is different. You see where the weather comes from, you see who will follow you, and you build steps that hold. Dealers learned to sell not an image but an assurance. Owners returned not for novelty but for trust. Rivals, at first amused, eventually learned to respect a brand that measured success in repeat customers and years of reliable service. The lesson for any small brand is practical, not poetic. Define the one promise you will keep when everything else tempts you to dilute it. Commit to competence, invest in the few things that make that promise real. Tell the people who need you exactly why you exist. Then deliver with the stubbornness of an engineer who refuses to leave until the machine runs right. That blend of clarity and consistency builds loyalty that advertising cannot buy. If the story landed with you, a small like helps others find it without shouting. Which of these pains feels closest to your company? Lack of identity, fear of niching, or fear of losing followers? Tell us, your answer shapes the next conversation. If you want more mapped, practical stories about small brands that became memorable, subscribe and we'll bring the next lesson to the ridge with you.